The San Francisco 49ers enter the 2026 offseason in a fascinating position. On one hand, this is still one of the most talented organizations in the NFL, a team that has built a reputation for competing deep into January year after year. On the other hand, the roster is clearly entering a transitional phase. Several key veterans could be on the way out, young players are being asked to step into major roles, and the front office must navigate a series of critical decisions that will shape the next era of football in the Bay Area. One of the first subtle but important moves already made by the organization involves the coaching staff. The 49ers promoted Cameron Clemens to become the team's new tight ends coach, replacing Brian Fleury. While it may not dominate national headlines, this type of internal promotion says a lot about the culture inside the building. Clemens has spent the past 2 seasons working closely with the offensive line unit, assisting longtime coach Chris Forster, and before that he spent several years developing his coaching resume with the Raiders. His experience with tight ends goes back to his early days in Las Vegas, when he worked in offensive quality control and helped oversee a position group headlined by Darren Waller during Waller's Pro Bowl season. That kind of developmental background matters in San Francisco, where tight ends are not just receivers, but integral pieces of the offensive system. In Kyle Shanahan's scheme, the tight end position must block in the run game, stretch the seam in the passing game, and function as a tactical chess piece across multiple formations. Clemens now inherits a group that will be expected to remain a central part of the offense moving forward. But while the coaching staff continues to evolve, the biggest storyline surrounding the 49ers right now centers on the roster itself. More specifically, the wide receiver room is undergoing a dramatic transformation that could completely reshape the identity of the offense. Just a few seasons ago, San Francisco possessed one of the most dynamic receiving groups in football. Deebo Samuel was the ultimate hybrid weapon. Brandon Ayuk emerged as a true number 1 receiver. Jawan Jennings provided physicality and reliability in critical situations. That trio gave Shanahan endless flexibility in designing offensive looks. Now, there is a very real possibility that none of those players will be wearing a 49ers uniform in 2026. With Samuel already gone and Ayuk expected to be released while Jennings prepares to test free agency, the receiving room suddenly looks drastically different. Ricky Pearsall is positioned to become the primary option, but behind him the depth chart is filled with question marks. Jacob Cowing, Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Watkins, Malik Turner, and Colton Dowell all remain on the roster, yet none have firmly established themselves as long-term difference makers. The result is a position group that may require multiple additions through both free agency and the draft. The free agent market presents some intriguing possibilities that would not necessarily break the bank. One name that stands out is Calvin Austin, a speedy slot receiver who has quietly developed into a productive weapon. His ability to stretch defenses vertically while also contributing on special teams could give the 49ers a versatile piece capable of generating explosive plays from the slot. Another potential option is Jalen Nailor, a receiver who quietly impressed despite the chaos surrounding Minnesota's passing game last season. Even with quarterback instability and offensive inconsistency, Nailor managed to find the end zone and demonstrate a knack for producing big moments. In the right offensive system, there is reason to believe he could break out in a larger role. Then there is Marquise Brown, perhaps the most recognizable name among the potential value signings. Brown remains one of the league's most dangerous deep threats when utilized correctly. While his time in Kansas City produced inconsistent results, the skill set is still there. In an offense that prioritizes motion, misdirection, and vertical spacing, Brown could potentially rediscover his explosiveness. However, the 49ers must also consider whether to pursue a blockbuster trade for a star receiver. Recent developments around the league have complicated that possibility. When the Chicago Bears traded DJ Moore to the Buffalo Bills for a second-round pick, it provided valuable insight into the current market for wide receivers. If a player of Moore's caliber commands that kind of compensation, then acquiring younger stars such as A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, or Brian Thomas Jr. would almost certainly require at least a first-round pick. For a team that prides itself on roster depth and draft development, sacrificing that level of capital is not a decision that can be taken lightly. At the same time, The front office must weigh the reality that the offense has historically thrived even without relying on a traditional number one receiver. Shanahan's system spreads the ball, emphasizes yards after the catch, and relies heavily on the run game to control tempo. Speaking of the run game, another storyline to watch involves the workload of Christian McCaffrey. The star running back carried an enormous burden last season, logging more than 400 touches and effectively serving as the engine of the entire offense. His performance was remarkable, but the question now becomes whether that level of usage is sustainable. Running backs rarely maintain that type of workload for multiple seasons without consequences. The physical toll of repeated high-volume usage often leads to injuries or declining efficiency. For that reason, the 49ers are likely exploring ways to create a more balanced backfield rotation. Several free agent running backs could provide exactly that type of complementary role. Rachaad White stands out as a player whose skill set closely mirrors McCaffrey's. His ability to contribute as both a runner and receiver would allow Shanahan to maintain offensive continuity even when McCaffrey needs a break. Kenneth Gainwell offers another intriguing option. His production as a receiver out of the backfield has been particularly impressive, and his versatility could add another dimension to the offense. Defenses would struggle to predict whether a play is designed as a run, screen, or short passing concept when a player like Gainwell is on the field. Jeremy McNichols represents a more understated addition, but sometimes those are exactly the types of players that thrive in Shanahan's system. Reliable depth and situational flexibility often prove invaluable over the course of a long season. And this brings us to one of the most important realities facing the 49ers organization right now: injuries. For several consecutive seasons, San Francisco has ranked among the most injury-plagued teams in the NFL. In 2025, the team once again finished near the top of the league in adjusted games lost due to injuries. Key players across the roster missed significant time. Brock Purdy dealt with injuries. George Kittle suffered a torn Achilles. Ricky Pearsall battled availability issues. On defense, stars like Nick Bosa, Michael Williams, and Fred Warner all spent time sidelined. Despite those setbacks, the 49ers still managed to reach the playoffs, which speaks volumes about the resilience of the roster. However, the pattern cannot be ignored. Injury history is now becoming a critical factor in personnel decisions. When evaluating potential free agents or draft prospects, durability may carry more weight than ever before. Signing talented players with extensive injury histories could expose the team to the same challenges that have plagued recent seasons. This reality also influences how the team approaches the defensive side of the ball. The 49ers recently brought in Matt Eberflus as assistant head coach of defense, a move that signals a potential shift in how the organization approaches defensive development. Eberflus is widely respected for his work with linebackers. During his time in Indianapolis, he helped develop Shaquille Leonard into one of the most dominant linebackers in football. His track record suggests that he excels at maximizing the potential of players at that position. That is particularly relevant for San Francisco right now. Fred Warner remains one of the best linebackers in the league, but the position next to him remains uncertain. The team recently invested a third-round pick in Nick Martin, and D. Winters still has time to prove himself, yet the long-term answer remains unclear. Bringing in a coach with Eberflus' developmental expertise suggests that the 49ers intend to solidify that area of the defense. Additionally, his defensive philosophy places strong emphasis on interior pass rush, which could influence how the team approaches free agency and the draft. The defensive line may see further reinforcements as well. While Nick Bosa remains the centerpiece of the pass rush, depth along the edge remains a priority. The upcoming free agent market is unusually deep at that position, featuring veterans, younger players, and versatile pass rushers who could fit into San Francisco's defensive structure. There are also intriguing possibilities in the draft. One prospect already generating discussion is Texas A&M edge rusher Cassius Howell. Despite concerns about his arm length during the NFL Combine, his production in the SEC speaks for itself. 11.5 sacks, relentless motor, and explosive speed off the edge make him an intriguing fit for defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. Sometimes measurables dominate draft conversations, but football production ultimately matters more. If the 49ers believe Howell's speed and intensity translate to the professional level, he could become another disruptive force opposite Bosa. Meanwhile, another quiet storyline continues to unfold involving one of the most important players on the entire roster. Contract negotiations between the 49ers and star left tackle Trent Williams remain unresolved. Reports indicate that there has been little progress in recent discussions, creating uncertainty about his long-term future with the team. Williams is not just another offensive lineman. He is arguably the most dominant left tackle in football and a cornerstone of the offensive line. His presence protects the quarterback's blind side and anchors the entire protection scheme. Losing him would dramatically alter the outlook of the offense. For a team already undergoing significant roster changes, securing Williams' future may be one of the most important priorities of the offseason. All of these storylines combine to form a pivotal moment for the San Francisco 49ers franchise. Coaching adjustments, roster turnover, free agency decisions, draft strategy, injury management, and contract negotiations are all unfolding simultaneously. If the front office navigates these challenges successfully, the 49ers could emerge from this transitional phase stronger and deeper than before. But if key decisions go wrong, the team risks slipping from perennial contender to rebuilding project. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into everything happening around the 49ers right now, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest analysis, roster breakdowns, and insider insights as we follow this team throughout the entire offseason. The truth is that the coming months will define the trajectory of this franchise for years to come. Every signing, every draft pick, every contract extension will carry enormous significance. San Francisco has built a reputation as one of the smartest and most aggressive organizations in football. Now the challenge is proving once again that they can evolve, adapt, and reload while the rest of the NFC tries to catch up. Because make no mistake about it, even with roster turnover and injury concerns, the foundation of a championship-caliber team still exists in the Bay Area. The question now is whether the next wave of players, coaches, and strategic decisions will push the 49ers back to the Super Bowl or mark the beginning of a completely new chapter in the franchise's history. And if you want more in-depth NFL breakdowns like this one covering the 49ers and every major storyline across the league, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because the road to the 2026 season is only just beginning.